Imagine a small-town mystery that starts with a missing child, that unravels into a chilling tale of betrayal and manipulation. It's a horrifying crime committed by someone no one would ever suspect, leaving everyone devastated.
Grandma? Oh my God.
What drives a seemingly normal teenager to commit such a dark act? Stay with us as we dive into the shocking case of Alyssa Bustamante and the tragic murder of Elizabeth Olten.
I need to know what the truth is.
Okay.
We have your diary. We've read your diary, including the last entry.
This is a story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about human nature. Welcome back to our channel, where we uncover the most haunting and mysterious cases from around the world. If you love diving deep into true crime and want to stay updated with our latest investigations, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support helps us continue to bring these important stories to light. Now, let's get into the heart-wrenching and unforgettable case of Alyssa Bustamante and Elizabeth Olten. Elizabeth Olten was born on December 15, 1999, in Jefferson City, Missouri. She grew up with her mom, Patty, her brother Anthony, and her sister Stephanie.
Elizabeth Olten is a sweet, shy 9-year-old girl. She's just all sweetness and light.
She adored animals, and her favorite game was playing dress-up. Patty, her mom, would always find Elizabeth in these big, fancy dresses, strutting around the house like she was off to a ball.
She's the kind of child that everyone adores.
Music was a big part of her life, too. She loved singing in school plays and was a huge fan of Hannah Montana and Taylor Swift. So, let's jump to Wednesday, October 21st, 2009. Elizabeth came home from school, ready to practice for an upcoming school play. She got straight into it, practicing her lines and doing her homework. Around 5 p.m., while her mom, Patty, was busy making dinner, there was a knock at the door. Patty opened it to find their neighbor, Emma Bustamante, standing there. Emma, who lived just a few doors down, asked if Elizabeth could come out to play. Emma lived with her grandparents, Karen and Gary, her twin brothers, and her 15-year-old sister, Alyssa. Elizabeth and Emma were great friends, always at each other's houses. Their families knew each other well, and the girls loved playing games and exploring the wooded area behind their homes. So, since Patty was in the middle of making dinner, she initially told Emma no. Dinner was almost ready, and she wanted to make sure Elizabeth ate. But after a lot of convincing from Emma and Elizabeth, Patty gave in. She said, "Okay, but only for 1 hour." It was October, so it got dark earlier, and Patty didn't want them playing outside in the dark. She made it clear, "Elizabeth, you have to be home by 6 p.m. for dinner." The girls agreed, thanked her, and excitedly headed out the front door to play. Sadly, this would be the last time Patty saw her 9-year-old daughter, Elizabeth. When 6 p.m. came, Patty noticed Elizabeth wasn't back yet.
Elizabeth, where are you? Are you home?
She started to worry because it was getting dark, and Elizabeth was scared of the dark. Patty called Emma's house, hoping to speak with Elizabeth or Emma's grandparents. Karen, Emma's grandma, answered. Patty asked if Elizabeth was there and if she could tell her to come home since it was getting dark and dinner was ready.
And she's asking about her daughter, and I said, well, I've not seen her. I don't know anything about it.
Elizabeth had never come over. Emma was there, upstairs in her room, but Elizabeth wasn't. Patty hung up and immediately called the police. Living in a small town meant the police arrived quickly.
Well, I think that the woods possibility is, the kids in this area play in the woods.
They, along with volunteers from the fire department, began scoping the area and the woods around the house.
We're endeavoring to find a young lady very much alive and reunite her with her family.
They called out Elizabeth's name, but found nothing. Patty tried calling Elizabeth's phone, which was still on, but each call went straight to voicemail. Around 10 p.m., about 5 hours since Elizabeth last spoke to her mom, word spread quickly. Hundreds of volunteers gathered to search for Elizabeth in the dark, but still, no one found any trace of her. The next day, Thursday, October 22, 2009, the FBI decided to ping Elizabeth's phone since it was still on.
The FBI is even involved trying to track a cell phone that she may have had on her.
They pinpointed a specific part of the woods, but the area was huge, and Elizabeth was a small 9-year-old girl. The police, volunteers, diving teams, police dogs, and helicopters searched tirelessly. Despite their efforts, they found no sign of Elizabeth. Then, unfortunately, Elizabeth's phone battery died, and they lost the last known ping location. Even though the phone ping was gone, there was still hope. The police got Elizabeth's phone records from the phone company to see who she last spoke to. The records showed the last person to talk to Elizabeth was 15-year-old Alyssa Bustamante, Emma's older sister. Alyssa had made a call to Elizabeth.
Well, what can you tell me about Elizabeth? I don't know, other than her name and her date of birth here, I don't know anything about this girl. Tell me about Elizabeth.
Well, she's 9.
Okay.
I don't really know that much about her either.
I mean, tell me what you do know about her.
Okay. She'd come over and swim. She's kind of girly, like
Okay.
not like naturistic, I guess
Okay.
I'd say. She can be annoying.
Okay.
On that day, the police were busy questioning the last people who saw or spoke to Elizabeth. A child counselor, trained to talk to kids, was brought in to interview Emma, who was only 6 years old. The counselor sat Emma down and gently asked about what they were doing when they were out playing.
But Emma said that they went out, they played. She said they stayed here on the property and they played on the road.
Then, they parted ways, and she saw Elizabeth heading towards her house, but she didn't see if she actually went inside. Then, Emma's story changed. She said that while they were playing in the woods, Elizabeth got stuck in a thorn bush. Emma called out to her sister Alyssa for help, and Alyssa came running to free Elizabeth from the bush.
I heard like Emma yelling, so I went outside and she was down in the ditch area. She was stuck in thorn bushes, so I went down there and I helped her out.
After that, they all went inside. Emma mentioned seeing blood on Alyssa's pants. Emma didn't think much of it, agreeing to keep quiet. According to their grandparents and some friends, Alyssa and Emma were the last people to see Elizabeth. Alyssa spent a lot of time in the woods, no matter the weather. She knew the woods like the back of her hand, loving to be out in nature, watching wildlife, and climbing trees.
In the winter as well as in the summer here, she liked to go out in the woods and explore.
The night Elizabeth went missing, the grandparents asked Alyssa if she had seen Elizabeth.
Alyssa kind of brushed it off and said, well, yeah, she was, but then she left and went home, or she thought she went home.
Because of this, the grandparents didn't worry too much about Elizabeth's disappearance. They thought maybe she got lost on her way home, or had already arrived home safely. Later that night, after Elizabeth went missing, Alyssa and her grandmother Karen went to a dance at their church. They still thought Elizabeth was probably home by then. After questioning Emma, the investigators turned their attention to Alyssa Bustamante. Alyssa Bustamante was born on January 28, 1994. She started her life in California with her mother, Michelle, and her father, Caesar. Michelle had Alyssa when she was only 16, so things were tough from the start.
Her mother was just 16. She was the teeniest little baby, so sweet.
Caesar was constantly in and out of jail, leaving Michelle to care for Alyssa alone, so Alyssa had to raise herself. Alyssa's grandparents, Karen and Gary, lived about 20 minutes away and tried to help as much as they could. They'd visit often and send food, clothes, and money. When Alyssa was 9, Michelle had Emma, followed by twin boys. Despite having more kids, Michelle's behavior didn't change. Feeling terrible for the kids, Karen and Gary decided to help more.
We'd gotten them a little trailer so Michelle could have a little privacy. We were hoping that would help.
They bought a trailer home 5 minutes from their house so they could keep a closer eye on Michelle and the kids. Karen and Gary hoped this move would be a fresh start for Michelle and the kids. But Michelle saw it differently. Instead of sobering up, she felt she could be gone more often because her parents were nearby to take care of the kids. One day, Gary decided to visit the trailer to check on Michelle and the kids. What he found was heartbreaking. Michelle was passed out on the couch. There was no food in the fridge or cabinets. The kids were running wild, destroying the trailer. The twin boys wouldn't follow any instructions and only slept on the floor. Michelle wasn't taking care of them at all, and Gary couldn't stand by and let them grow up that way. Karen and Gary decided enough was enough and managed to get custody of all 4 children.
The sheriff's department there advised us to get custody of the children, and that's when we did. And
Once they had custody, they moved from California to St. Martin's, Missouri, hoping for a fresh start. They chose St. Martin's because it was a small, close-knit community with a low crime rate, good schools, and friendly neighbors. The house was surrounded by woods, giving the kids plenty of space to run, play, and enjoy nature. This environment was exactly what they needed. Emma and the twin boys thrived in their new home. They grew up to be well-behaved kids, far removed from the chaos of their earlier life. However, Alyssa didn't adjust as well. At 8 years old, she was underdeveloped for her age, behaving more like a 5-year-old.
We would be out like at a store, and she would just go down on the ground. Now, bear in mind, she was 8.
This was due to the trauma Alyssa had already experienced. As she became a teenager, this suppressed trauma resurfaced. Alyssa didn't know how to handle her emotions. At 13, Alyssa tried to take her own life. Her grandmother found her just in time and rushed her to the hospital. Alyssa was then admitted to a mental hospital for 2 months. During her stay, Alyssa was diagnosed with PTSD. Despite the medication, Alyssa still struggled with depression. Despite her traumatic childhood and mental struggles, Alyssa excelled academically. She had good grades in high school, and her friends and teachers described her as quite smart. On Thursday, October 22, 2009, Alyssa's 9-year-old neighbor, Elizabeth Olten, had been missing since the previous evening. The police found that the last person to have contact with Elizabeth was Alyssa, who had spoken to her over the phone. When interviewed, Alyssa appeared calm and collected.
All right, we're going to start from Wednesday morning. Let's just kind of start there.
Okay.
Walk me through from the time you woke up in the morning. You woke up in the morning and walk me through exactly what happened from there.
So I went to school
Okay.
and I was there all day. And then I came home on the bus and I got home around 3. And I just hung out in my room for a little while. And then I went for a walk around 5. And I was just walking around in the forest for a while. And I was supposed to take my little sister with me, but I ditched her because she's annoying.
She claimed she had no clue that Elizabeth was missing since she was in school that day.
I'll kind of start you over a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you were at school.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't ditch that day.
Nope.
Okay. So we're verified that you're at school.
Yes.
So if we check, they're going to say you were at school
Yes.
that day.
Yes.
Okay. What'd you do at school?
I went to all my classes, did my schoolwork, went to lunch.
Okay. Anything happen at school?
Nope.
Anything eventful?
Just the usual school day.
Okay. I mean, anything out of the ordinary?
Nope.
Any fights or arguments with anybody?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
After her school, the day went as usual.
What'd you do when you got home?
I went in my room, went to the bathroom, did usual stuff when you get home from school.
Sure.
ate food, and then I decided to go for a walk because it was a nice day Wednesday.
Okay.
So I went outside in the forest and just.
Where'd you go when you say you went to a walk? Where'd you go?
Okay, there's like a tree line. If you were to like draw this for you or something.
I have a map.
Oh. It's like a side trail I go off on, and you just keep following that trail, and it goes off over there. And there's like a really cool cow pasture with sweet looking, it's like a creek, kind of.
But the investigators were more interested in the specifics, like the exact time of her day.
I went for a walk around 4:30 or 5.
Okay. So how long, when you got home about 3:30, how long were you at home?
I was home at least an hour.
Okay, so about 4:30 or 5 you went?
Right.
Okay.
I went home.
Did you take that same route
Yes.
back is what I'm asking?
Yes, I did.
So you went back up here, hung out at a pasture,
Mm-hmm.
and then came back here.
Yes.
Okay. How long did that take you to do?
It takes about...
How long were you on your walk? That's what I'm asking.
Walk? It's about 15 or 20 minutes, I believe.
How long were you gone that day on your walk?
I was gone for about an hour.
Okay, so you were gone about an hour.
Mhm.
When you walked up there, the cow pasture, what were you doing up there?
I was just, enjoying nature, taking a walk.
Were you smoking?
No.
Okay. If you were, that's fine. I don't care. I'm just trying to get an idea.
This is one of those occasions where if you were, we don't care if you were.
Oh, I know. I wasn't.
Okay.
I promise.
Okay. Okay.
After she came back to her room, she heard Emma screaming outside.
I went up in my room, and then I heard Emma, yelling.
And so you go down to help Emma,
Mm-hmm.
and she was stuck. How was she stuck?
Well, there was a big old bush of thorn, big old thorn bushes, and she couldn't get over it. She somehow managed to get herself stuck in there, so I had to go down and help her.
Okay.
Is she like your little person? You look after her?
I do. I mean, she's annoying, but
She's still your person.
Yeah.
If the time is critical, my husband remembers because Alyssa went charging, running down the stairs. I mean, really loud. So
Yeah,
he knows
I heard her
exactly what
screaming.
time she went charging down the stairs, because I think this is the critical time here, because this is when Alyssa, Emma and Elizabeth had just parted ways at this point before she started crying.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that's an important time, but
She mentioned hearing it from her grandparents that night when her grandmother asked if she had seen Elizabeth, to which Alyssa replied that she hadn't.
Couldn't find Elizabeth. Is that
Right.
what they're telling you?
right.
They just said
And
she was
they
missing.
they were questioning me about the day.
They just told you Elizabeth was missing.
My grandpa did, yes.
Yeah. How did that make you feel?
I didn't think it would happen. Things like this don't happen to you,
Before the interview, police investigating the woods found a hole resembling a shallow grave. The investigator then shifts his focus on these suspicious holes.
Well, there's been, there were some folks out there out in the forest, I guess, digging some holes or looking at some holes.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, they had said that you like to go out there and dig holes. So, I'm going to have to ask you some stuff about yourself.
Okay.
Because, obviously that plays in there if they were looking at holes and you're out there in the forest and that sort of thing. So, I guess just tell me a little bit about yourself so I understand where all this is coming from.
I really like nature, animals, being outside. It's just, naturistic like that. And I get bored really easily, and I'm entertained really easily.
Okay.
So, digging holes is just something to do.
Alyssa acknowledges the hole and casually mentioned that she liked to bury dead animals as a way of respecting them.
And behind our daycare house, there's two still that you haven't filled in, right? 2 holes. That from when me and my brothers were digging holes when we lived in the house.
Okay.
And they're really big. But the one that usually I don't really dig very big holes because I get bored. I'll start doing it and I'll be like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore.
Okay. You just like to dig holes?
And I like to climb trees.
Okay.
And I bury dead animals that I find because I believe it's respectful to them.
Okay. Okay. What kind of holes do you dig? Tell me about these holes you dig.
Well,
You dig them a certain way every time, or just dig a hole?
Just dig a hole, pretty much.
Okay. Just wherever they're at? I mean, do you dig at a certain spot, or what?
Well,
Just a big round hole.
This casual admission was unsettling for the police, as it raised a significant red flag. Serial killers often start by harming animals.
Tell me about that hole, though. It's a very specific hole. I mean, it's a very unique hole, I should say.
Are all of your holes like that?
The investigator is now locked onto the hole. He wants to know why Alyssa dug the hole.
You dug the hole, so you know what I'm talking about.
yes.
That was a very, very unique hole.
I guess. I was digging. I mean, whatever shape comes to mind. I was just entertaining myself.
The reason I'm asking, it just seems like and you can understand why, as if people were out in the woods looking for a person, if they were lost, or God forbid if they thought it was God forbid a body, why they would be alarmed by that hole, because they're, come along a hole, freshly dug hole that was, we're talking about a perfect rectangle hole. Perfect size, what would be a grave, or you think of a small coffin, so think a perfect rectangle about 3 feet by about 4.5, 5 foot, straight shovel marks down, about, as you described when I talked to you out there, about that deep. Straight down the first few inches of dirt, up until you get to that real hard packed dirt, almost as if somebody were digging down, got to a point to where you got to those roots in that hard dirt and realized it's too hard to dig. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's why so many people, I think, were alarmed by that hole, because that's the kind of hole that we as investigators typically see when we find a body underneath it. But for a 15-year-old girl to dig a perfectly rectangle 3 by 4 or 5 square rectangle hole, it just caught a lot of people as very odd.
That makes sense.
The reason why the investigator is so fixated on the hole is not just because of its shape, but also because of its location. It's exactly where Elizabeth's phone last pinged.
So are there other sites you could show us where you dug a perfect rectangle hole like this, or is this the only time you dug a hole just like that? Because if there is another hole like that you could show us.
I think that's the only hole that's not filled in that's like
Well, it doesn't matter if it's filled in or not.
Okay.
We have experts out there that can look at that, and these guys can. It doesn't matter if it's a year old. They can. Okay. They have sonar. They can run right over it, and they can tell you the shape, the depth, the whole thing. We're talking about guys that have the FBI. They have instruments that can do just about everything. So if there is one that you can point out, we can show them. Look, this is this girl likes to dig holes in certain shapes, and that way they'll calm down about nobody will think it's different or weird about it.
The investigator then asks her opinion. What does she think happened to Elizabeth?
Well, I really don't think she would run away because she's 9. And the way that they've been searching for 2 days, they haven't found any sign of her. So I think that maybe someone kidnapped her or something. It's a terrible thing, but I don't know what else to assume.
Okay. Would she have easily been lured into a car? Was she that kind of girl? I don't know anything about her. Would she have been with a kitten?
Maybe. You'd have to ask her mom about
Sure.
Do you think somebody did something to her? Is that
seems most likely, because I don't think she'd be the kind of person that would hide or stay out all night or anything like that.
Okay. Is there anybody in that area you can think of that would, that comes to mind that you would think of that would do that? Is there anybody that, knowing your neighbors, that you would?
No, but there is a lot of cars that drive down that highway.
Okay. Just a few opinion questions. I'm just asking your opinion, because what type of person do you think would do this sort of thing to a 9-year-old girl?
A sick person, someone that, can put down all their morals and just take a 9-year-old girl.
Whenever we find out what happened to her, if somebody did something to her, what do you think should happen to them?
I think they should get convicted. Well, yeah, because all the trouble that they're causing so far.
Okay.
He then asks her point blank.
Is there anybody that, knowing your neighbors, that you would?
No, but there is a lot of cars that drive down that highway.
Okay. Okay, just a few opinion questions. I'm just asking your opinion, because what type of person do you think would do this sort of thing to a 9-year-old girl?
A sick person, like someone that, I don't know, can put down all their morals and just take a 9-year-old girl.
Whenever we find out what happened to her, if somebody did something to her, what do you think should happen to them?
I think they should get convicted. Well, yeah, because all the trouble that they're causing so far.
Okay. I'm going to ask you because I ask everybody. Did you do anything to Elizabeth?
No.
Did you cause her disappearance?
No.
Did you kill her?
No.
Okay. Do you know where she's at right now?
No.
Okay.
The police decided to investigate further and obtained a search warrant for Alyssa's house.
Now, it's my understanding that did the FBI do a search or something of the house where you guys lived? Tell me about that. What was that all about?
They searched our house, I guess, for any signs of Elizabeth, and they found stuff in my room, but not like evidence like that. They found like marijuana seeds and
and you understand, I don't care about marijuana seeds or any of that.
Inside her room, they found writing all over the walls in pen and marker. Phrases like, "It was written in blood," and an outline of a person with slash marks on the head and the name Emma next to it, referring to her sister, were disturbing. They also found birthday cards and notes from her father, who was in prison. More alarmingly, they discovered 2 pairs of muddy clothes and 2 muddy shovels. Alyssa explained that these were for when she went into the woods to bury dead animals. This explanation, given the circumstances, did not ease their suspicions.
You said they searched your room.
yes.
Other than marijuana seeds and that sort of stuff, did they find anything?
Nope.
Okay, did they take anything?
They took my sheet and
Okay.
a pillowcase, I
Okay.
think.
Did they take anything else?
I don't think so. I haven't really surveyed anything.
Okay. Okay.
I think they took clothes
No, they took a pair of pants.
Okay.
and a diary. I mean, they gave us the list. It's not all coming to me what was on the list, but there's a long list.
The most significant discovery was Alyssa's diary. It was filled with dark fantasies, thoughts, and desires.
Your diary. Okay. You ever gone through the diary?
I've looked at some of it, yes.
Okay. Did you know that?
No,
Okay. Does it make you angry?
a little.
Yeah. It's kind of your private, personal thoughts, isn't it? Yeah. I can understand you being angry with that, but she's.
But only if it's sitting out. I've never gone looking. She's got it sitting open on the floor, and I'm there. I care about her.
Well, the diary is supposed to be, I understand where you're coming from, because the diary is supposed to be your, where you keep your personal thoughts and your secrets and the rest of it. And that's where we, put our secrets, isn't it? We've talked to a lot of people, and and I can tell you though, there's some people that we have talked to that we don't feel we're telling the full truth yet. And that's why we go around, we collect a lot of stuff, because we don't always know what is the evidence and what isn't. They collect a lot of things, such as your diary.
And the shovels.
And the shovels.
She had written about wanting to set a house on fire and lock everyone inside. A week before Elizabeth went missing, she wrote, "If I don't talk about it, I bottle it up."
Do you think they went through your diary?
If they collected it, then most likely.
this point, Alyssa began to exhibit long pauses. The interrogator used the technique of silence, knowing that it often compels people to speak to fill the uncomfortable void. As the silence grew longer, Alyssa's anxiety increased.
The only thing I can think of is embarrassing things that they find that about me. So.
We talked a little bit earlier about technology.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you write something down,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Let's say you write it down in pencil, and then you take a pen and try real hard to scratch it out.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make it go away.
A particular entry from October 21st, the night Elizabeth went missing, was severely crossed out. This was peculiar, as none of her other dark entries had been scribbled over.
Okay.
It's still there. And forensically, and actually you don't even need a whole lot of forensics. If you hold it up to a light, you can see what was written. And then when that's processed forensically, every word, every stroke is still there. Do you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
The police brought the diary in for testing and placed the entry under black light, revealing the chilling words. As soon as you get over the, oh my God, I can't do this feeling, it's pretty enjoyable. I'm kind of nervous and shaky though. Okay, I gotta go to church now. The night Elizabeth went missing, Alyssa and her grandmother attended a church dance. Grandma recalled that Alyssa seemed unusually cheerful that evening, more sociable and joking than usual. Grandma attributed this change in demeanor to Alyssa's recent increase in Prozac dosage, prescribed by her doctor. However, this newfound happiness was not due to medication. Alyssa was likely experiencing a euphoric high from her recent actions. The investigator then blatantly confronts her.
I need to know what the truth is.
Okay.
We have your diary. We've read your diary,
Mm-hmm.
including the last entry.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the investigator pauses, leaving the ball in her court. Her silence prolonged for a whole minute.
Where's she at?
I don't know.
Alyssa, I want you to look at me for just a minute.
What?
We deal with kids all the time. We deal with kids all the time. That's all I've done for 12 years is deal with kids.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to say anything in this room that's going to catch us off guard. Okay? We need you to be honest. Just be honest. If you know something, then say it. Okay? Please continue. Just say it if you know something.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You need to tell us the truth. You need to tell us what happened. If this was an accident, that's fine, but we need the truth. We have to know the truth. That's all I'm asking for, is whatever happened, I have to know the truth. This is not gonna go away. All I'm asking for is the truth.
I don't know what's in the diary. I don't know the truth.
That's what I'm asking. Tell us what happened. If this was an accident, that's fine. We can deal with that. But I have to know what happened. I have to know what the truth was. I have to know how this happened. And the most important thing is, we have to know where she's at. We have to give this family some closure. Just like if this was your little sister, you would want closure.
Alyssa knew there was no way out of it now, but she still can't muster up the courage to confession. Sensing her anxiety, the investigator easing in.
Let's start at the beginning. Is this something that was planned out, or was this just an accident?
It was an accident.
Okay. Well, this is a starting point then. That's kind of what I thought.
Only then he pushes for details. It's unfortunate her grandma had to witness this.
I'm in the forest. Like I said. And Elizabeth was in there.
Do you have an extra one for her? Yes. Elizabeth was there in the forest?
Yes.
Was she alone?
Yeah.
Okay.
We decided to go hang out. Because it was a nice day. We were just messing.
Take your time.
We were just messing around. She fell. And she died. And I didn't know what to do. So I because I didn't want to get in trouble.
By the creek bed?
Yes.
At this point, Alyssa's emotions began to surface. Throughout the interrogation, she had remained composed and detached, showing no visible distress.
Why did you dig that hole? Was that for her? When did you dig that hole? You dug it ahead of time, didn't you?
I dug that hole on Wednesday.
Before you played with her?
Yes.
When we go and get the body here, there'll be an autopsy. And it doesn't matter. I work a lot of homicides. It doesn't matter whether the body's burned or not. They'll go through and do an autopsy. And I understand you say she fell, and that's why she died. However, they will know from the autopsy. They will know all of that from the autopsy. So we need to know the truth, because at the end of the autopsy, they will know exactly how she died.
Investigator knew she was lying. He confronts her head-on.
How did she kill her?
She died.
How did she die? 9-year-old girls don't just die.
We were messing around. And she fell back and hit her head.
It was at this point she finally caves in. After a tense pause, Alyssa responded with a simple yes.
Yeah. Oh. You. Leave.
Grandma, who was present in the room due to Alyssa being a minor, immediately reacted.
Grandma?
Oh my God.
She can't get out. She wants grandma to leave. I'm not going to ask any questions right now until we get.
She screamed, burst into tears, and left the room in utter devastation. With the confession from Alyssa, the gravity of her actions became undeniable. The confession, combined with the earlier findings, Alyssa's disturbing diary entries, the muddy clothes and shovels, and her casual demeanor about burying dead animals, painted a chilling picture. Alyssa had not only planned, but also carried out the brutal murder of Elizabeth Olten, deriving a disturbing sense of satisfaction from her actions. However, as soon as she heard her grandmother Karen's anguished cries from outside the room, Alyssa started to cry.
Alyssa, I think you dug the hole ahead of time.
Karen's words, "It's never going to be okay," echoed through the room, marking a stark contrast to Alyssa's previously calm demeanor. She now confesses to everything.
And I think you got Elizabeth out there. They knew you were going to kill her. Is that what happened?
Yes.
This moment seemed to break through Alyssa's emotional barrier, making her confront the reality and gravity of her actions. Realizing the weight of her situation, Alyssa decided to tell the truth. She confessed to manipulating her 6-year-old sister, Emma, to lure Elizabeth Olten out of her house. Alyssa had Emma invite Elizabeth to play, and once Elizabeth's mother, Patty, agreed, the two girls headed to the woods. At the entrance, Alyssa waited, and as soon as Elizabeth and Emma arrived, Alyssa sent Emma back home, leaving her alone with Elizabeth.
So at about 5:30, you went out. Did you go to her house to get her?
I went over there and she was outside, so I was like, yeah.
You knew you were going to do it then? Okay, so you went over there about 5:30 and got her. Was Emma with you?
She was for part of the way. Like I said, I ditched her.
You ditched her?
Yeah.
Okay. So you went, did you walk all the way over to her house?
Yeah.
Okay. Show me what route you went.
I went back through here.
Went and got her?
Yeah.
And then show me where you went from there. I mean, show me with this pen where you went from there. You had Elizabeth.
I came to the pond and then just followed that path.
Okay. And then you went up here to a creek bed?
Yes.
Okay. And where did Emma turn back?
I think it was somewhere out here.
Okay.
Like I said.
So it was just you and Elizabeth?
Mm-hmm.
Alyssa told Elizabeth she had a surprise for her, leading her deeper into the woods. Elizabeth, excited by the promise of a surprise and trusting Alyssa like an older sister, followed eagerly.
What did you tell Elizabeth you were going to do?
We were just hanging out at first. I don't know. I didn't.
You had the knife with you. Had you made up your decision you were going to kill her then?
No. When we had been at the creek.
Okay. Why?
I don't know.
You just decided?
When they reached the creek, Elizabeth became confused, not understanding the nature of the surprise. Alyssa then revealed a knife taken from her grandmother's kitchen. She attacked Elizabeth. Alyssa then buried Elizabeth with leaves and dirt, leaving her to die. Returning home, Alyssa cleaned herself up, wrote about the experience in her diary, and then attended the church dance with her grandmother.
And then what did you do from there? You had the knife, and then show me what happened from there.
I just walked back and came inside.
Did you walk back this path that you showed me?
Yes.
You walked this path, came back inside,
Yep.
and then what did you do?
Went up to my room, turned out, came down.
Put the knife in the sink? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Even though Alyssa has confessed, but the investigator has found one inconsistency in her timeline. The grave she dug couldn't possibly be dug after the murder. She is either lying or someone helped her.
What about the hole, though?
It was just there.
No, it wasn't just there.
I dug it. Yeah, it was there.
When did you dig it?
Oh, after I...
When?
It was before I came home
Before you came home from where?
from the forest.
Who helped you?
No.
Your grandpa helped you, didn't he?
No.
Who helped you?
No one helped me.
When did you dig this hole?
Why?
When?
Wednesday.
The Wednesday before all this?
No. Wednesday it happened.
After or before you killed her?
After.
You came back home,
Yes.
went to your room, heard Emma crying,
Mm-hmm.
went to help her,
Mm-hmm.
which would have been almost 6 o'clock in the evening when Emma was screaming. So when would you have had time to dig that hole?
Before I came back.
You didn't have a shovel with you.
The first suspicion was on the grandfather.
Your grandpa loves you very much, doesn't he? Your grandpa would do anything for you. I know you don't want to tell me. I know you want to protect him. But we have got to get to the truth in this. You came back. You told him what had happened. And he wanted to help you. He wanted to try to make this right.
Nope. I didn't know my grandpa anything.
Alyssa is telling the truth. Her grandfather knew nothing. What she is lying about is the time her dug those graves. Alyssa had prepared for this moment meticulously. 5 days prior, she had skipped school to dig 2 shallow graves in the woods behind her house. After recounting the murder, Alyssa led the police to the exact spot where she had buried Elizabeth. The police found the body of the 9-year-old exactly as Alyssa had described. When asked why she chose Elizabeth, Alyssa chillingly replied, "She was an easy target, and I just wanted to know what it felt like to kill someone." But since Alyssa kept the interrogator in dark about how she dug the graves 5 days prior, they moved the spotlight to another individual. Alyssa had a boyfriend named Dustin.
Now you have a boyfriend.
I do.
Okay, what's his name?
His name's Dustin.
Dustin. Okay.
They dragged Dustin into the interrogation. Investigators gave him a polygraph test, which he failed. This raised suspicions, and they dug deeper. After a long hour of questioning, Dustin finally broke down and confessed that he knew more about what happened. According to him, on October 22nd, the day after Elizabeth went missing, she had actually come to his house. That's when Alyssa shared chilling details of what she had done. Dustin hadn't been involved in the crime and had kept Alyssa's secret out of fear. He was terrified of what she might do, especially knowing she was capable of such a horrific act. It's hard to imagine the weight he must have felt, carrying that knowledge while everyone was searching for Elizabeth. But in the end, Dustin was cleared of any involvement, and it was clear that Alyssa had acted alone. On October 28, 2009, 1 week after Elizabeth went missing and 6 days after her body was discovered, Elizabeth was laid to rest. Her family honored her memory with a princess-themed burial, complete with a pink coffin and a horse-drawn carriage, reflecting how they saw her in life, a princess deserving of a royal farewell.
World. She was an innocent, beautiful child. She was taken from us.
The community of St. Martin's was left to grapple with the horror of Elizabeth's tragic death and the shocking revelation of Alyssa's capacity for violence.
She just wanted to know what it felt like.
On November 18, 2009, Alyssa's trial commenced, and the court decided she would be tried as an adult due to the severity of her crime. Despite this, Alyssa adamantly pleaded not guilty. The judge, considering the heinous nature of her acts, deemed juvenile detention insufficient, fearing she posed a danger to other inmates. The prosecutors presented compelling evidence against Alyssa. The muddy clothes and knife found in her room tested positive for Elizabeth's DNA. Alyssa's diary entries, detailing her disturbing fantasies, were brought to light. Witnesses, including friends and her boyfriend Dustin, testified to her erratic behavior and violent remarks. The prosecution painted a picture of premeditation, highlighting how Alyssa dug 2 graves days before the crime. They argued that her willingness to kill again was evident, especially considering the similarity in size between the graves and the ages of Emma and Elizabeth. Alyssa's defense contested the validity of her confession, citing her status as a minor during the interrogation. They attempted to discredit the second half of her confession, claiming it was inadmissible due to the absence of an adult. However, even without this, they faced overwhelming evidence, including Alyssa's diary entries and Dustin's testimony. Dustin's account corroborated Alyssa's involvement, providing details only the perpetrator would know. While the specifics of the crime were kept from the public due to Elizabeth's age, Dustin's knowledge validated his statement and solidified Alyssa's culpability. On January 12, 2010, Alyssa made a significant decision in her trial. Withdrawn from her initial not guilty plea, she opted for a guilty plea as part of a negotiated agreement. This deal proposed reducing her charge from first-degree murder to second-degree murder, contingent upon her willingness to testify truthfully about the events leading to the crime. During the trial, Alyssa took the stand to recount the gruesome details of the murder, starting from the preparations leading up to the burial of Elizabeth's body. Despite the horrific nature of her narrative, she remained composed, showing no signs of emotion, which deeply affected Elizabeth's grieving family. While Alyssa admitted guilt, her defense aimed for a reduced sentence.
Prior to October 2009, had you been treated for mental health problems?
Yes.
Do you recall when that started?
2007?
So for a couple of years?
Yes.
What kind of treatments did you receive?
After a suicide attempt, I was hospitalized and put on medication and was in intensive outpatient care with Pathways.
After you were arrested in October 2009, did you continue having psychological problems, symptoms?
Yes.
And what kind of symptoms were you having?
Depression, anxiety.
They argued that her mental state at the time of the crime, influenced by PTSD, depression, and other disorders, impaired her judgment. However, prosecutors countered, asserting that her intelligence and premeditation undermined this defense. The prosecution dismissed the defense's claims, contending that Alyssa's actions contradicted the effects of her medication. They emphasized her meticulous planning, evident from the graves dug days before the crime, indicating a conscious decision to proceed despite knowing the consequences. On February 6, 2010, as the jury deliberated, tensions ran high in the courtroom. Elizabeth's grandmother's emotional outburst reflected the anguish felt by the victim's family. The following day, February 7, 2010, the jury returned with a verdict, guilty of Elizabeth's murder. Before the verdict was announced, Alyssa addressed the court, expressing remorse for her actions. She acknowledged the inadequacy of words to convey her profound regret, expressing a willingness to trade her life for Elizabeth's if possible. Despite her remorse, the jury sentenced her to life in prison, eligible for parole in 2024 when she turns 30. Even after the trial concluded, Alyssa continued to seek appeals, hoping for a lighter sentence. Despite her efforts, she remains incarcerated. Meanwhile, Elizabeth's family remains dedicated to keeping her memory alive. They actively share her story to raise awareness about child safety and support other families facing similar tragedies. Through various organizations, they offer assistance to those affected by violent crimes or abductions, striving to prevent similar incidents in the future. The tragic case of Alyssa Bustamante and Elizabeth Olten took an even darker turn when it was discovered that Alyssa had dug 2 graves, with the second one possibly intended for her own little sister, Emma. This chilling detail raises the haunting question of whether Alyssa was on the verge of becoming a serial killer. Had the police not intervened, Emma might have suffered the same fate as Elizabeth. This case underscores the crucial role of timely intervention and mental health awareness in preventing further tragedies. Alyssa, a troubled teenager, took the life of her young neighbor, Elizabeth, in a horrifying act that shocked their small community. This case highlights the importance of mental health awareness, early intervention, and community support in preventing such tragedies. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most heartbreaking cases we've covered. If you found this story impactful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others to help keep Elizabeth's memory alive. Your support means everything to us and helps us continue to bring awareness to these important cases. So please subscribe, stay safe, be kind, and always look out for one another.